What if I told you that you're looking for signs of love in all the wrong places? Could you accept that truth? There's a profound difference between a man who needs you and a man who truly loves you. And until you understand that difference, you'll keep mistaking intensity for real, heartfelt reciprocity. I know exactly what it's like to feel like you're constantly guessing if he really cares. You know that feeling of being on an emotional roller coaster, where sometimes you feel loved and other times completely invisible. You analyze every gesture, every word, every silence, trying to decipher if what you have is real, or if you're once again building a house of cards in your own imagination. You're not asking for too much. Your intuition isn't failing you. The problem is that so many of us have learned to accept emotional crumbs as if they were feasts. Fromm, one of the greatest scholars of human love, discovered something revolutionary about how men demonstrate true love. He realized that there is a vast difference between emotional neediness and mature love. And when a man loves in this conscious and genuine way, he reveals specific signs that he would never show to any other woman. Signs that have nothing to do with expensive gifts or dramatic declarations, but with a sacred vulnerability that only emerges in the presence of someone he recognizes as his spiritual equal. Your feminine energy is too sacred to be wasted trying to convince someone of your worth. And today, you're going to discover the 5 signs that reveal when a man has truly opened his heart to you, not out of neediness, but out of a profound recognition of your essence. The first sign is a vulnerability unlike anything you've known before. Most women have experienced men opening up, hoping to be rescued, comforted, or healed. But that's not love. It's need disguised as intimacy. The vulnerability of true love is when he shares his deepest fears, not for you to fix them, but to be accepted in his imperfect humanity. It's when he tells you about the failure that still haunts him, about the fear of not being enough, about the dreams he had to bury, but without the drama, without begging to be saved. He simply allows himself to be seen. Imagine the difference. A man who cries about his problems, expecting you to solve them, versus a man who shares his struggles with the serenity of someone who isn't looking for salvation, but understanding. The first is searching for a mother. The second is offering his truth to an equal. It's like the difference between someone showing a wound to be healed and someone showing a scar to be known. When he shares his shadow with you, he's not looking for a therapist or a savior. He's offering the rawest part of his soul because he trusts that you can see his light, even in the darkness. It's as if he's saying, "This is my complete truth, and I trust that you can love me, including these parts that I'm still learning to accept myself." Practically speaking, this shows up when he mentions he had a difficult childhood, but doesn't expect you to heal his childhood wounds. When he talks about a professional setback that left a mark, but isn't looking for you to console him or minimize his pain. When he reveals insecurities about his ability to be a good partner, but doesn't constantly need reassurance that you won't leave. Notice if he talks about his insecurities without playing the victim. If he mentions his mistakes without overly justifying himself. If he reveals his imperfections without expecting you to fix them. This man isn't diminishing himself before you, he's humanizing himself. And that humanization is a gift he only gives to someone he sees as worthy of knowing his complete truth. The second sign is found in shared silences. We live in a culture that equates love with constant words, grand declarations, and non-stop communication. But there's a truth few women truly grasp. A man who truly loves you is completely at ease in the quiet beside you. This isn't the cold silence of disinterest or the heavy silence of unresolved conflict. It's the profound silence of two souls who recognize each other and don't need to fill every moment with noise. It's when you're together and he doesn't feel the need to entertain you, impress you, or prove anything. He simply exists in your presence. Think of the difference between being with someone who constantly needs to prove their worth through words and being with someone who feels so secure in your connection that he can simply be. It's like the difference between a novice musician who plays nonstop to impress and an experienced maestro who knows when a pause is more powerful than any note. Many women might feel insecure in these moments, interpreting the silence as a lack of feeling. Our culture has conditioned us to believe that love needs to be constantly declared, demonstrated, verbalized. But when you understand the deeper masculine psychology, you realize this is one of the greatest signs of love a man can offer. He's not trying to win you over because he already feels he has. He's not trying to prove his worth because he feels accepted. This silence takes on different textures throughout the relationship. In the beginning, it might be the contemplative silence of someone absorbing your presence, as if he's memorizing every detail of your energy. Later on, it becomes the companionable silence of someone who doesn't need to fill the space to feel connected. It's when he can work beside you, read a book while you do something else, or simply sit together watching the sunset without feeling like something is missing. This silence is like a deep river flowing between you. On the surface, it might seem calm, but there's an intense current of genuine connection. In practice, notice if he feels comfortable not talking during a car ride, if he can be with you while you're cooking without feeling the need to help or chat, if he enjoys contemplative moments together without anxiety. This silence isn't born from a lack of something to say, but from the fullness of simply being together. The third sign is perhaps the most unexpected, when he reveals his deepest insecurities without losing his strength. Society teaches men to be unwavering pillars, eternal providers, emotional rocks. But the man who truly loves can let that facade fall in front of the woman he recognizes as his equal. This isn't childish insecurity, constantly seeking reassurance, nor is it toxic insecurity manifesting as excessive jealousy or control. It's the human, mature insecurity of someone who recognizes their limitations and isn't afraid to share them with the one they love. It's when he confesses that he doesn't have all the answers, that he sometimes feels lost, that he's afraid of failing or disappointing you. The difference lies in how he shares it. It's not a dramatic outpouring or a constant plea for validation. It's a quiet, confident revelation, like placing a precious treasure in the hands of someone he knows will cherish it. He trusts that you can see his strength even when he reveals his vulnerabilities. It's like when he tells you he sometimes feels inadequate at work, but doesn't expect you to solve his professional problems. When he mentions he's afraid of not being able to make you happy, but doesn't constantly seek guarantees that you won't leave. When he reveals he worries about the financial future, but doesn't transfer that anxiety onto you to resolve. This veiled insecurity manifests in intimate, spontaneous moments. It's when he confesses, as you walk hand in hand, that he sometimes feels like he's still a boy pretending to be a grown-up. When he admits he doesn't quite understand how to deal with certain emotions, but he's trying to learn. When he reveals that you scare him a little because he's never felt something so intense and real. The beauty of this insecurity is that it comes with a paradoxical strength. He's not belittling himself or playing the victim. He's simply acknowledging his humanity and trusting that you can love him, doubts and all. He's a man who knows that true courage isn't about never being afraid, but about being afraid and choosing to trust anyway. The fourth sign reveals itself in how he offers you his most precious freedom. For many men, freedom is a fundamental value, almost sacred. They protect their space, their time, their choices, with an intensity that can sometimes seem selfish. But when a man truly loves, something extraordinary happens. He doesn't give up his freedom, but integrates it into the relationship. This is a crucial nuance that many women don't realize. He doesn't feel trapped or limited by being with you. On the contrary, he feels like his freedom has expanded because it can now be shared. It's when he invites you into his most personal hobbies, introduces you to his closest circle of friends, or naturally includes you in decisions he once made alone. The difference between possession and love becomes clear here. The possessive man tries to limit your freedom to guarantee your presence. The man who truly loves offers his own freedom as a gift, creating a space where you can both be free together. He doesn't see you as a threat to his autonomy, but as an expansion of it. It's like when he invites you to join him on that fishing trip that's always been his time for quiet reflection, not because he feels obligated, but because he wants to share that sacred silence with you. When he introduces you to his childhood friends who know all his stories, including the most embarrassing ones. When he invites you to participate in personal rituals that used to be just for him. The morning run, the nightly reading, that special Sunday coffee. In practice, this manifests when he spontaneously rearranges his schedule to include you in his plans. When he invites you on trips he always took alone, when he shares his personal projects and genuinely asks for your opinion. There's no sacrifice in his voice or body language. There's enthusiasm in expanding his life to include you. It's important to differentiate this from a man who gives up everything for you, which can be codependency, versus a man who naturally includes you in his life because you've become an integral part of it. The first can breed resentment in the future. The second generates mutual growth. This sign also appears in the way he defends your shared space as a couple, not out of jealousy or insecurity, but because that space has become sacred to him. He won't allow others to invade or disrespect what you've built together, in the same way he wouldn't allow anyone to invade his home. The fifth sign is perhaps the most profound, when he not only accepts but embraces your imperfections and shadows. Jung spoke of the importance of integrating our shadow self, and modern psychology confirms that true love is impossible without this total acceptance of the other person. The man who truly loves you doesn't expect you to be perfect. More than that, he doesn't want you to be perfect. He understands that your complete humanity, including your bad days, your irritations, your fears, and your weaknesses, is what makes you real and lovable. It's not just tolerance, it's a celebration of your wholeness. This acceptance manifests in very practical and everyday ways. When you're having a tough day, he doesn't try to fix you or convince you to cheer up. He simply remains present, offering his steady energy without judgment. When you express anger, frustration, or sadness, he's not offended, nor does he try to minimize your feelings. He welcomes them as a natural part of the human experience. It's when you're grumpy for no apparent reason, and he doesn't take it personally or try to force a smile. When you have a crisis of insecurity about your appearance, your age, or your choices, and he doesn't bombard you with empty compliments, but simply sees you with love, insecurities, and all. When you're going through a difficult time and become more withdrawn or sensitive, and he doesn't interpret it as rejection, but as part of the human process of dealing with life. Most importantly, he also allows himself to show his own imperfections in your presence. His grumpy days, his irritations, his moments of exhaustion. He doesn't try to maintain a facade of perfection because he trusts that you can love him, shadows and all. It's a mutual exchange of raw and genuine humanity. This acceptance extends to your quirks and eccentricities that other partners might criticize. It's when he's amused by your particular way of organizing things, isn't bothered by your odd habits, or even appreciates your little neuroses because he understands they're part of who you are. It's not that he ignores your imperfections, it's that he sees them as facets of a complete and interesting person. Also, notice how he reacts when you make mistakes or make decisions he wouldn't. The man who truly accepts your shadow doesn't make you feel guilty or ashamed of your imperfections. He understands that to err is human, and that your flaws don't diminish your value as a person or as a partner. This acceptance creates a sacred space where you can both drop all the masks and simply exist. It's liberating and frightening at the same time, because it takes courage to be seen in your complete truth. But it's in this space of total acceptance that the deepest and most lasting love is born. When you recognize these 5 signs, something subtle yet powerful shifts in the way you perceive love. It's like you've been given a brand new pair of glasses. Suddenly, you can see nuances that you never noticed before. You stop looking for grand gestures and start valuing quiet authenticity. Most women have been conditioned to value emotional intensity, constant romantic words, dramatic gestures of passion. Social media bombards us with relationships that look like movies, full of public declarations and cinematic moments. But psychology reveals that mature love is much more subtle and so much more solid. It's made of small moments and genuine gestures that reveal a deep connection between two souls who recognize each other. This understanding completely changes your relationship with loneliness and the search for a partner. You realize that you don't need someone to complete you, but someone who recognizes your wholeness and wants to walk alongside you. You don't need someone to save you, but someone who trusts in your strength. You don't need someone to transform you into someone else, but someone who celebrates who you already are. Your feminine energy awakens when you stop trying to prove your worth and begin to recognize your value. When you understand that the right man won't require you to shrink yourself to fit into his life, but will expand his life to include your greatness. And this shift in perspective naturally attracts healthier, more conscious relationships. It's like you've learned to read a secret language of the human heart, a language that goes beyond words and penetrates the essence of intentions. And when you master this language, you'll never again confuse neediness with love, possession with care, or intensity with depth. This transformation also changes your tolerance for superficial or unbalanced relationships. You can no longer accept emotional crumbs because you know the taste of a feast. You can no longer settle for men who constantly need to prove something because you've already experienced the peace of being with someone who simply is. Your feminine intuition sharpens, and you can feel the difference between someone who's trying to win you over and someone who already feels connected to you. When you recognize these 5 signs, something subtle yet powerful shifts in the way you perceive love. It's like you've been given a new pair of glasses. Suddenly, you can see nuances that you missed before. You stop looking for grand gestures and start to cherish quiet authenticity. Most women have been conditioned to value emotional intensity, constant romantic words, dramatic displays of passion. Social media bombards us with relationships that look like movies, full of public declarations and cinematic moments. But psychology reveals that mature love is much more subtle and much more solid. It's made of small moments and genuine gestures that reveal a deep connection between 2 souls who recognize each other. This understanding completely changes your relationship with loneliness and the search for a partner. You realize that you don't need someone to complete you, but someone who recognizes your completeness and wants to walk beside you. You don't need someone to save you, but someone who trusts your strength. You don't need someone to transform you into someone else, but someone who celebrates who you already are. Your feminine energy awakens when you stop trying to prove your worth and start recognizing it. When you understand that the right man won't require you to shrink yourself to fit into his life, but will expand his life to include your greatness. And this shift in perspective naturally attracts healthier, more conscious relationships. It's like you've learned to read a secret language of the human heart, a language that goes beyond words and penetrates the essence of intentions. And when you master this language, you'll never again confuse neediness with love, possession with care, or intensity with depth. This transformation also changes your tolerance for superficial or unbalanced relationships. You can no longer accept emotional crumbs because you know the taste of a feast. You can no longer settle for men who constantly need to prove something because you've experienced the peace of being with someone who simply is. Your feminine intuition sharpens, and you can feel the difference between someone who is trying to win you over and someone who already feels connected to you. Now, if you're comfortable, allow yourself a few moments of quiet. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Let your mind wander through the relationships you've had or are currently experiencing. No rush, no judgment. Just observe. How many of these 5 signs have you recognized in someone? And perhaps more importantly, did you allow yourself to receive this profound form of love when it appeared? If you'd like, grab a piece of paper and jot down any reflections that come up. What kind of vulnerability do you offer in your relationships? How do you react to shared silences? Can you remain present, or do you feel the need to fill them? Do you accept others' imperfections, or do you try to fix them? Also, observe your own patterns. Have you been attracting men who demonstrate these signs, or have you settled for shallower versions of love? If you realize you've been accepting less than you deserve, be gentle with yourself. It was part of your journey of self-discovery. Now you have sharper tools to recognize true love when it appears. Maybe you're feeling a mix of hope and melancholy as you recognize these signs. Hope because you now know what to look for. Melancholy because you may realize you haven't found it yet. And that's okay. True love doesn't follow timelines or societal expectations. A woman who knows these signs develops a special serenity. She no longer settles for emotional crumbs, but she also doesn't despair in the search. She understands that her heart deserves someone who sees her completely and chooses to stay, not out of need, but out of deep recognition of her unique essence. Remember, These signs aren't a checklist of demands to pressure someone with. They flow naturally from a heart that loves in a mature way. They can't be forced or manipulated. They're like flowers that bloom when the soil is ready, not when we force the seed. Trust the wisdom of your feminine intuition to recognize when someone truly honors you. You are already worthy of this love exactly as you are. Your journey of recognition and self-love is sacred. And when you honor that journey, you naturally attract people who also honor the sacred within themselves. True love exists, and you don't have to change into someone else to deserve it.